Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another one of our series of interviews with candidates for the Mount Vernon Township High School Board. And today we're happy to visit with David Kassner. And David, first of all, thanks so much for your time and joining us today, and thanks for agreeing to participate in the interview.
I appreciate you giving me the chance to talk to the public, too, so thank
Okay.
you.
Well, before we get into the question-answer situation here, let's give you the opportunity to tell the public a little bit about yourself, your background, and maybe why you're motivated to run for the school board, and also why you feel like you're qualified to run for the school board.
Great. Kind of a little background first. I've lived here in Mount Vernon for all but 3 years of my life. I went to Summersville Grade School. Well, I graduated. They let me graduate there. Graduated from Summersville Grade School. Graduated from Mount Vernon Township High School. And I got a bachelor's degree in mathematics and a minor in chemistry at Eastern Illinois University. After that, I also started a teaching career. And during that time, I also have a master's degree in mathematics curriculum instruction from Southern Illinois University, and a master's degree in administrative education at Eastern Illinois University. I have taught in Southern Illinois for 34 years of my life. The past 21 years were at Mount Vernon Township High School, and I've been retired 2 years. I've been married for 34 years. I've got two stepdaughters that did go through the education system, Mount Vernon Township High School, and they got a really good education also. So, my dad taught at the high school since from 1959 to 1984. So the high school has kind of been my life.
I understand.
And I'm not planning on going anywhere either. So anyway, motivation. You want me to?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, like I said, I've lived here all my life. In the past few years, I've had things really concern me on things that go on, that have gone on at school. We've had, just lately, it's come to a head with the new school and discussion on that. But, low test scores. We have a high teacher turnover rate, which you've discussed before too, and teacher morale, and it's just our school's not where it should be. That school should be one of the best schools in Southern Illinois, and I'd like to make it that way too. Also by having it just affects everything. It affects our community at school. If we have a school that people want to come to and people want to stay, we're going to have families moving into Mount Vernon, which will, and Jefferson County, which will definitely, increase the value of my home eventually, which is maybe not a great motive, but bring business into Mount Vernon and have things for our kids to do when they get out, jobs. So. And
the reason why you feel like you're qualified to serve then?
Well, I wrote down, or I kind of put together three things. I think I've got the time, the ability, and the will, and so I've kind of expound on those. The time, since I'm retired, I have a chance now, and I will research and study to find ways to make the school better. I would actively assist the administrators and things to search for qualified teachers. That's one of the things that with a big turnover, finding qualified teachers is really big. And not micromanage things. That's not what a school board's for. But there are a lot of things a school board needs to understand and be able to do and spend their time doing, I believe. The ability I have, since I've been retired, though, I have been, or when I should say, while I worked, when I was there, I have a degree in curriculum instruction, which degrees don't really mean anything, but I did learn a lot in that. So I know what good teaching looks like. I know the curriculum that should be taught, or I know how to find the curriculum that should be taught. I was math department head there for 10 years, so I know how to work with administration. I know how to get along with people, form a consensus. I also am on the Kaskaskia Valley Credit Union or Community Credit Union Board right now, and I do audits for the board, the internal audits for there at the credit union. And I have, when I did, so I do understand finances, and when I did teach at the high school when I was there, I was an observer for the teachers on the finance committee there at school. So I did see how finances were run. Now this was all before this new school was built. So when you talk about the premium loans and things like that, I was not privy to that. Was all before I was there. But I did see the other part run, so I do understand school finances. It had just started where some of the loans were being, our money was coming to us from the state, and we were actually investing in it at a small amount of interest. But that's as far as it got. Okay. I was never on the building committee. I didn't see any of that. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. What else was I going to say? Well, with that, with the
these are basically your qualifications.
Yeah,
to
these
serve.
are still my qualifications.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
won't ramble. With the administrative degree I have, though, I do know, I do know school law, which I think helps too.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I think a board member needs to know and understand that there's some things done at school that are done because they have to be done. They're mandated, and even though we may not like what's there. So,
Mm-hmm.
I have that understanding also.
Okay.
And last thing, I've got the will. I mean, like I said, I live here. Our students, I want our students to have the best opportunity they can get out when they get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a student to get out and not have the background, the skills to be able to get the job they want. And it's very competitive out there now.
Mm-hmm.
So we have got to prepare our students, very much better than what we have, I think.
Okay.
In the past.
Well, let's get into some of the questions then. And this first question, actually, you've touched upon it already a little bit, but you may want to go into more detail now. One of the major concerns right now at Mount Vernon Township High School is teacher turnover and teacher morale. If elected to the board, how do you believe that you can impact this issue in a positive way?
Well, I've talked to several teachers, not all of the ones we've had, but I've talked to several teachers, and these are seasoned teachers. These are not first-year teachers. These are seasoned teachers with tenure, and I've asked them why they've left. And these are things that go on, the micromanagement of their classrooms. They are not allowed to do what I feel the best that they can. They're held back, and these are people that know how to teach, and we need to allow them to teach. And so right there, I mean, that's a lot of the morale too. I mean, we've got, you have to want to be there and do your best. And I'm not saying they're not. That's not what I mean at all. Those teachers are, but you have to have, it helps to be told that you're doing a good job. It helps to be, things like that. And I don't know that they're getting that. Mm-hmm. So I think there needs to be much better communication with them and what they are. And I think they need to be allowed to do their job, which right now, I think that's not entirely true. Especially, I've talked to people, and that's what I hear. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that dovetails a little bit into my next question. Another issue at the high school, many would say, is that there is a lack of transparency or open communication with the public. So what do you think can be done to improve communication and transparency at the high school?
Okay. I mean, obviously, transparency, and which goes right along with trust, is not. I mean, it's not there. If you've come to the board meetings lately, you can see that. I mean, in the public of their opinion, in their opinion, and it's not going to be an easy thing to rebuild trust. We've had a lot of things go on in Jefferson County that has caused the public to anything that comes up. They don't trust it because of things that have happened in the past. So to rebuild that trust, I mean, there's little things like, I don't think that just by coming to the board meetings, which I've gone to over a year, and then they've really gotten interesting lately. But at the board meetings, the public they have questions, they have concerns, and they need to be heard. There needs to be time given where the people can ask questions and be heard and discuss things with the board before things are voted on. And I think that needs to be, I think that format, the way things are done, needs to be changed. And any time a big decision is made, I think there needs to be a public forum where you come and say, look, we want your opinion, and we're not going to vote on anything today, but this is a big deal. These are things that we need to talk and discuss, or talk about and discuss.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's going to take a while to bring that back, and I think, I think it can be done. It has to be done. And I think we can get the public's trust back, but it's not going to happen instantly, and we're going to have to show them that we can be trusted.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, obviously, everyone wants their son or daughter to have a quality education. And according to the report card for Mount Vernon Township High School that was released from the Illinois State Board of Education, the ACT test scores at the school have been dropping in recent years. Meanwhile, the graduation rate is declining and the dropout rate is increasing. So what do you believe can and should be done to address these concerns at the high school?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that go into this. I think teacher morale has something to do with that also. Not that they're not doing their best, but we have to have, and student morale also, we have to show the students the value of these tests. I realize a test is not, that's a way to show that we are doing well. I know a test, just doing well on a test does not mean you know anything. You've done well on the test. But I think we have to, there's programs even to bring the scores up. We may have to have tutoring for those students. We have to go through and make sure our classes are what they should be, that we are teaching the right things that they need to know. So there's a lot of factors involved, but again, I think the test scores we did when I was there, and this has probably been at least 5 years ago, there were only 2 schools ahead of us in math in Southern Illinois, not counting the Metro East, and those schools were Marion, and I think they were 1 point ahead of us on the ACT test, and I said I'm not positive, and then Carbondale was quite a bit ahead of us, and then the last scores, we are at the bottom of the barrel, and so that can't continue, but there are things that we can do. Like I said, that we can do tutoring. We may have to change our classes on how they are taught. We have to be able to motivate those students, show them the value of doing well and working hard.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's shift gears here just a little bit. There has been much discussion about the cost of the new high school, as well as the ongoing spending that many would consider to be somewhat wasteful. As a board member, if you are elected, how would you try to contain cost at the high school?
Well, now this is one of the minor things is it seems like the discretionary spending, I mean, we've heard of things that have just been, they just go out and purchase. It doesn't seem like the board has approved them. One of the things I want to do on spending is I'd like to have a cap on discretionary spending where you just don't have a blank check to write. You don't go out and just say, I need that. I'm just going to go spend the taxpayers' money and buy it because I have an unlimited amount. And that may not be the way it is, but that's kind of the perception I see on some of these purchases that were made. So I think the board needs to actively maybe set a limit, and if they have to have a special board meeting to approve it, maybe that's the way it needs to be done, because they say, well, we had to do it because the next board meeting doesn't have, we can't wait till that time. So I think we need to be a lot more responsible for watching the spending. I think that's going to have to be, you just can't have a blank checkbook.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the school district is also spending a sizable amount of money to maintain the old campus. So what do you think should be done with the old campus?
Yeah. Well, it is a major concern. I would like to see those buildings utilized. If we could sell the buildings, if we could even, to the point of, because there are some buildings that are very good there, if they could even be somehow donated to the county for use with them or the city. There's a college down at West Frankfort that something like that might be able to use the buildings. I don't know, but the problem is 2 things. One is we pay utilities and insurance on those buildings, and it's sapping our revenues from. So, and the other thing is, even though I'm really attached to those buildings, if they cannot be used, and I don't want to see them just sit there and fall apart and dilapidate and continue to have to pay, like I said, insurance on them. I think they would have to be torn down and use sell the property, use it for something else. That would be I would hate to see that happen. That would be a last resort, but I don't want to see buildings like other buildings in town that are dilapidated and they're still standing and not being used.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. All right. Moving on to our next question. In high school, as you know, teachers give students a letter grade. based upon their effort and their performance. So if you were to give a letter grade to the current administration, what letter grade would you give them and why?
Well, they wouldn't. I mean, they did get the school built, but there's a lot of things that I mean, that's what the public wanted. This was not what I envisioned. I should say it that way. So my letter grade is not a very good grade. It would be anywhere from a D- to an E. It's just, it seems like that, like the transparency issue, the trust issue. It seems like at every turn. It's not just not what I envisioned, it's what, to me, what was sold to the public on that. So, I mean, with that, you look at the school, the building of the school, you look at what we have for test scores right now, you look at what we have for the morale of the teachers, the motivation of the students. I mean, it all ties together, and right now, our report card's not very good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, with 1 year left on the contract of the current superintendent, you would certainly be involved in the hiring of a new superintendent if you were
Yes,
elected to the school board. So with that in mind, what are some of the traits, strengths, and characteristics that you would look for in a new superintendent?
Well, obviously they've got to have the ability, the background, okay, that just to run the school, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a good administrator. You have got to be able to communicate with your teachers, with the public. You've got to be, when you tell somebody something, it's got to be believable, it's got to be accurate. So those are the kind of things I look for with a person. They have to be able to communicate. I mean, good communication to me is really important. That takes care of the transparency issue. You have to be able to communicate what you want to take place, and you have to have, with that communication, you have to follow through. I mean, you just can't say something, you have to have results. So when you say something, say you're going to do something, then it needs to be done, and it needs to be done well. So those would be the kind of things I'd look for.
Okay. Do you believe that the Mount Vernon Township High School superintendent should live in the school district?
I do. I think that you buy into you are there in the, out in society, in our makeup of Jefferson County. You buy into it, you're paying taxes into the school district too. I think you should be, I like to see you out in the public doing things, not just at school, but there are other things too that go along with being an administrator. You have to really sell your ideas, and that means you have to get out in the public also and mingle with the public and contribute to the public. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. Well, David, really that's all the time that I have for questions in the interest of time constraints. And so before we close, is there anything else that you would like to say to the public or share or comment on leading up to the election on April 4th?
Well, again, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to come and talk to everyone. And I would definitely like the public's support. There are 3 openings, and I would like to be one of those people on the board. I think I can really contribute to the board. That's the reason I'm running. I'm not into politics, but I think when I look at it, I think with my background that I can make a difference, and that's what if I didn't think I could, I wouldn't be running.
All right. Well, David, I thank you so much for your time, and thanks for your willingness to participate in this interview process. And again, we want to encourage everyone to take a look at each of the interviews with each of the candidates that are participating in this series of interviews for the Mount Vernon Township High School Board of Education. And be sure and cast your votes that will take place on April the 4th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.